off the tippy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna just say that first and foremost. You know, the deal with Snoop Dogg, like, she's just a strong black woman, and she's my backbone, and she understands what's real. Like, some people don't understand that when you dealing with somebody like me, it's a certain space issue, and then it's a certain time that you need to be right there and let everybody know what it is. Yeah, I am the one, not the two. You get what I'm saying? Like, show up when you need to show up, and then sometimes kick back and let him do what he do, because that's what boss ladies do. You sit back and collect the revenue. Get out the way. Everybody wants to be a star. His and hers. Knock it off.
What did you think of so many young people participating in the walkout yesterday?
That was that gun protest thing? The youth. I know the youth. They tired right now. They sick of this mess. And their voice should matter. It should really matter. You know, and I'm glad they did that, because I can't speak for them. They need to speak for themselves, and people need to stop treating them like they just little kids. Oh, they little, nobody, they don't. No, they speak eloquently. They understand what they're saying. They have true issues, and they mean what they mean, and we should respect that, because we were all kids one day. Once upon a time, we were kids that grew into who we are, and some of us still are kids. I'm a big kid inside.
You said
We have time for one more question.
No, let them get it in. Don't stop them. Just these my folks right here. When there was a, let me look around. If it was a white interview, we'd have been in the
And you know, there's a quote that you were saying your grandmother told you when you were young. You know that you'll be a preacher one day. What do you know what kind of things she saw in you? You know, that made her say that.
I think Granny seen my ability to MC, because in church back in the days we would have to do speeches and be certain black people like Benjamin Banneker and George Washington Carver. We would have to be these guys in church and act them out and do plays. And black churches was crazy back in the day. They made kids do, like, they put me through acting school and all kind of stuff. Like, what does this have to do with going to church, cuz? This is extracurricular. But it grown me. Like, it got me ready, though, on some real talk. Like, I got to give a shout out to all of the deacons and the ushers that handled me. Like, for real, though, because they handled me in a real special way. For real, though, because they seen something in me. Like, even to say that we want you to lead songs in the choir and do this. And I didn't have no strong singing voice. But just to give me that moment, and Ricky Harris, rest in peace, we went to church together, so they would always give us moments where we would have acting together. And I made a record, my first album, Doggy Style. Ricky Harris is W. Balls is the voice on there. That just shows you how God works. And when we did that, everybody in our church was happy for us. And he cussed on every song, and I did. So that just says that it's always a reverse psychology to everything. Like, they didn't call that secular music. They was happy that Snoopy and Ricky had made it. They didn't care what we were saying. They knew who we were. You get what I'm saying? Like, know the person inside before you start throwing rocks at him. Because you only know my music. You don't know me. Do you?
Nope.
Who were some of Granny's favorite gospel artists?
Let me answer this first. Granny's, now you gonna trip. Granny loved Jimmy Swaggart and Jimmy Swaggart's family. I'm not making this up. When I go to Granny's house when she was alive, I walk in the living room, Jimmy Swaggart on, and he rocking. And it's her favorite words. Yeah, Jimmy almost got that $3 million. He almost got to it. Because Jimmy got to raise $3 million. I said, what he got to do, Grandma? He got to raise $3 million every day to keep his show on network. Every day, Granny? Every day. How much you do? I donated $25 to him. He about $1,000 short. So I'm going to send him another 10. He got to get that money. I said, Granny, you just keep giving Jimmy Swaggart money every day. They up there singing the little songs. They just... Go ahead now. Jimmy Swaggart.
My question is, what was the biblical verse that your grandmother taught you or the church taught you when you was going through, different things and trying times in Long Beach, and did you follow it once you got into the industry?
It was the one, God so loved the world. And then what's the rest of it?
Yeah, his only begotten son.
That who
And
shall ever believe will be given eternal life. That game right there stuck with me. That one piece of game right there, because it was always decisions to be made in the streets when I first started hanging with the gangbangers. And then when I got put on the set, when I started hanging out with the drug dealers, and I got my first dope sack. When I started hanging out with the guys who was shooting, and they gave me a gun. Then I got shot at, then I shot at somebody. Like, it was decisions that had to be made, and I would always hear that. And it was like, I wasn't the type of dude that was gonna do it 3 or 4 times. Second, third time, I ain't get that far. First or second time, that's it. I heard that voice, and it kept me. And as I grew up, I look back, I look at a lot of my homeboys that's dead or in jail. They didn't have that scripture. They didn't have that voice. And they just kept making that decision over and over again, the wrong one, as opposed to hearing a voice to say that you can make another decision and be firm about it. And you ain't no weenie, you ain't no punk if you don't do it.
Tell us about all that
I
time.
just admit it because God designed us to be great.
All,
In a real
all
way.
all that time entertainment. I know you have more inspirational works coming. Can you tell us about that?
All the time. God is good all the time. That's why I call it all the time entertainment. We plan on putting out a lot of projects just because there was an overpour for this. And there's so many people that didn't get a chance to get down with me that want to get down. And this is the only way I can accompany that is by putting out a label that just puts out great gospel music. We got Molly Music. We working on his project next, and it's sounding amazing.
Does that mean he's signed to, or is he?
He's with
finishing
RCA.
up?
He's with
Oh,
RCA,
yeah,
but
okay,
but all the time entertainment has been, we've been tightening up his music line and then been in there working with him, getting him right, and making sure his thing is on point. And then I'm going to Mississippi to do a project with the Williams brothers, coming home with the Williams brothers. So I'm just trying to reach out and do different things in the gospel world, but do what feels good to me. It gotta feel good to me first. It can't be just because somebody told me to do it or they making me do it. It's gotta feel good. It's gotta be a project that I can stand on and say, I did it for this reason and I love it, and hopefully you will.
Was a great set. This record's a great setup because it's like a compilation and that you curated. You're not on every song. Like there's different artists. Did you go into it with that intention that you were you planning to be on every song, or did like through the process you decided that you were gonna just bring other people?
I never wanted to be on every song. I wanted this to be about the great musicians and the artists that I could pull together, because I feel like I'm an orchestrator of life, and this project is only going to show that this is how I orchestrate life. How could you bring all of these beautiful people together that probably never been together? I ain't never heard Rance Allen and the Clark sisters on a song together or on an album together. I never heard John P. Key and Fred Hammond and this person and that person and Patti LaBelle and Faith Evans and all, and Casey from Casey and JoJo, all of them on one particular record.
Yeah.
For real? On one record? Yeah, one record. Like the orchestrator of life. I bring people together. That's the key. The key to this thing is bringing people together. Now we have a conversation. As opposed to, I got money, you got money, I'm mad at you, they mad at you, I ain't messing with y'all, I ain't messing with y'all. No, hold on. We everybody, we all people. Sit down and get some understanding. Let's stop waiting till the funeral before we get some understanding. Give them their roses while they're here. How about that?
Amen.
You played the record for the boys
You
in
mean
the
the
league.
album?
Go ahead, baby. Go ahead, finish, baby girl.
Okay. I was saying you named the album Bible of Love. What is your definition of love?
My definition of love is the best religion in the world is to perceive the unperceived, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but at the same time, project more of a positive energy over negativity, never allowing the negative to become bigger than the positive, always keeping peace and love at the forefront of everything, never allowing your attitude or your ego to become your amigo, never letting someone make you become them based off of who you're not. And that happens a lot of times when I can get into it with somebody and he's making me mad to where I want to do something devilish to equal him or to even the score. But my love method is I'll even the score by doing something positive and something with some meaning to it. Perfect example. I was into it with some homies in my neighborhood, some older homies that's my G's supposedly. I don't gangbang no more, but it's just certain politics that come with the hood. And they went on social media. They went on social media basically saying Snoop can't come to the hood, he this, he that. Basically trying to reel me in for some negative altercation. So what I do is I pull up on them, but when I pull up on them, I don't bring no guns, I don't bring no negative. I hit them with a conversation, and then I leave. And when I leave, I concoct a plan to grab gang members from the east side, west side, and the north side and put them on a project where they all loving each other and they all working with each other and call it the Beach City Movement. And I put peace in the hood and stop killings for about 2 or 3 years non-stop where people are able to work with each other and do things. And that was my answer to how you match hate with love. And that's my explanation of love, with a true explanation to it so you can understand that I deal with it in a real life scenario every day, not just while I'm making records and trying to deal with the church and the disgruntled people in the church, but I deal with real niggas who have no understanding, and I have to give them understanding through peace and love. Because other than that, I would shoot or kill somebody and end up in jail and be another statistic. So I have to outwit them and give them other avenues and do things that show them, well, Snoop made it. He was a gangbanger and a drug dealer. Maybe I can do something in life and try to be something productive. Like, sometimes we don't believe what we hear, we believe what we see. So I got to show you, because I can show you better than I can tell you.
What was it like you and Daz, working together on a song for this project?
He brought his mom up here, and his mom was kind of sick. She wasn't doing well. And I had her put a prayer on the song before John P. Key came on, and it just was a beautiful prayer. And then she wrote another song, too. And just her hearing that, that was the joy of my life, because his mom is, like, she's still here with us, but she was like my everything in church. She was like my go-to, like always cheering me on, taught me how to play the piano, helped me lead songs, like really there for me, like in a real way. And then when I got in trouble in the music industry and caught a murder case, I called her and she said a prayer with me that really helped me. Like, she's always been in my life at certain moments. So to have her come and say something on the record meant the world to me, because she's an evangelist, and for her to see that her nephew is doing a gospel album, like, she was more happy than my mama. Like, but that made me feel better because I know what it meant to her as opposed to my mama's meaning. My mama, like, God been telling her for 20 years, like, nigga, what took you so long? But my auntie, like, she like, you doing it right now, and I'm so proud that you doing it, and I'm happy because I've been telling people that my nephew is, my auntie's on the battlefield for me. I got aunties that got purses and big hats and go to battle for me. My nephew, I wish you would. He's covered with the blood of Jesus, and and they hitting scriptures and busting you upside the head like a whole bunch of old ladies, like 9 of them with big hats on. You can't even get by them. And they in there having prayer for me. Like, my aunties is cold with it, man.
That's a video, Snoop. You got
with the big hats?
video treatment.
My mama got a closet full of them. I tried to throw them away. She tried to kill me. You gonna sell these big ass hats. You can't even get in the car with this. We gotta put it in the trunk. You can't put it on until you get out the car.
You mentioned, like, you're everyone's uncle and you're wise and you have all this advice. And you do. Who do you seek when you need advice?
Glad you asked. It's a couple of people. One is Minister Louis Farrakhan, one of the sharpest brothers you ever want to meet. Don't never try to preach religion. He preached love and life. Never tries to make you a Muslim or make you nothing. He accepts you for who you are, and he loves you for who you are. He's like my big brother. Never judged me, never criticized me, never tried to get me to do nothing I didn't want to do. Only gave me constructive criticism and led me the right way. Another person, Charlie Wilson, like very influential in my life. Very, very influential in my life because, now let me tell you how God worked. When I put Charlie in my life, or when God put Charlie in my life, Charlie was smoking crack and in a rehabilitation home. And the lady that was working at the home with him would bring him to the studio with me. And we was smoking weed and stuff, and she would always say, could you guys not smoke in front of Charlie? And we'd be like, man, shut up, we ain't listening to you. And we smoking in front of her, just disrespectful. Then it got to a point where probably a year went by, and Charlie married this lady. And this lady became his wife. Not only was she his counselor, but she became his wife. And I watched her change my uncle into a whole new person, where he was drug-free, his vocals got strong again, his hair started growing, his face got cleared up, everything started happening for him. And it was a beautiful feeling, and we started to respect this lady because we seen the work that God was doing through her for him. And now they've been married longer than me and my wife, but me and my wife had our, what you call that, when you married and then you get married again? Yeah,
Okay.
that thing. It was a surprise at Charlie House. And it was such a beautiful surprise because my wife didn't know what was going on. And Charlie worked with me on this because we was having tough times. And that's why I love him so much, because he knew we was having tough times. He was like, it's what you do. You got to do your renew. And I'm like, what is all that? We done already got married. I ain't finna get married again. Nigga, just listen to me. You gonna come out to the house. We gonna do X, Y, and Z. We gonna have Teddy Riley and Guy perform because we know she loved him, and throw her off this way. When she looking that way, then all of a sudden you gonna walk on stage and you gonna cut the music off and you gonna say, Shantae, I want you to marry me again. And you gonna steal the show. It was so beautiful. And I'm like, who could have told Snoop Dogg that, as hard-headed as I was, as egotistical? I'm like, I'm not listening to you, but he checked me, put me in place in their pocket to where that's the way it is now. That's the way it is. Because that's the way it is. Because I had somebody like that consult me. Because it's hard trying to do it by yourself. We try to make it look easy. This ain't easy at all. You need help. You need a lot of help. And you got to be willing to receive that help and willing to get checked. And a lot of people ain't willing to get checked because when they get to a certain point in their life, they feel like they're uncheckable.
Can you talk about your feelings on the gospel genre in general? I mean, there's so much amazing gospel music being made, but it certainly doesn't get the appreciation it deserves in the mainstream, unfortunately. So how do you view that?
I view gospel music as the best genre of music in the whole world. For one, the artists, the way they sing, hands down the best. Never see them lip sync. Never see them miss a beat. Never off key. If they was to do the national anthem, but that's another thing. But like I say, they are the most unheralded singers in the world. If you know anything about gospel music, you know they can sing it from the church to the streets to the car to wherever they at, and it sound like they on a record. But they singing about God and they singing to the Lord. So why would you give that credit? Why would you put a spotlight on that? That's God's work. They don't want to spotlight that. They rather spotlight some killing and some drugs and somebody overdosing on lean and doing all this negative mess. That's why I stepped in the world to say, hold on, let me take my spotlight. I got a cool little light. Let me see if I can work this Snoop Dogg light and put it on this gospel game with some of the most extraordinary singers you heard in your life. And let me put them on stage. Because we're doing a play too, by the way. And when we bring this play to a city near you, it's going to knock the boots off of people because the play is so heavy and so real. You get a chance to see me become a preacher on stage. You get a chance to see all this great music before you from these artists. And it's the word, it's the spirit. You're going to leave there feeling something. You're going to feel some way about yourself. And that's why I designed this, so I could take it to a hood near you. It wasn't just a record. It was a whole movement. I want to take this around so those elders in those certain states that don't know what's happening, I'm giving away 200 tickets today to A&E Church over there on 100 and whatever it is. You understand me? Sister Betty and them, y'all come get these tickets and bring some of them rib dinners. I want y'all here nice and early because y'all getting in for free.
Is Voices of Praise going to be a part of the play?
What?
Because that's what I heard. When I heard that, I was like, this is a play.
What? Ain't that special? And one of my homeboys, that's not an original record. That's a record that was made years ago that I've never heard before. My homie played it for me. I'm like, this record is dope. So we redid it, and I went and did the preaching thing. And by you saying that, the play was like created because it's so, you could see it. You could visually see what I'm saying. I can't wait to do it on the real though. Like, I get excited for my projects, but this one is the one that I'm gonna really be able to do what I love doing. Like, to really become a character. Like, I want to become this character that people really fall in love with and believe is, because it's actually who I'm gonna become in real life.
Snoop, I love your work with Charlie Wilson. You know, you guys have done so much together, from rap to R&B and now gospel. Just talk about, I mean, I know you talked about your personal relationship with him, but just talk about the chemistry that you guys have together in the studio.
Well, our chemistry is crazy because me and him love to check each other. Like, that's how we started off. We would, when we worked in the studio, like for the first couple of times, if my rap wasn't hard enough to him or dope enough to him, he would tell me like, "Nah, nephew, I think you can do better than that. You need to go in there and do it over again." I'd be like, "Nigga, what is you talking about? Nigga, I'm Snoop Dogg. You don't know nothing about rap." But I would listen to him, and I would criticize him the same way. And it's like, you gotta have somebody in this industry that's tough on you like that, that really loves you, that knows when you're at your best and won't let you settle for less. Because sometimes people just let you get away with anything because they're not concerned with you. But somebody that cares about you ain't gonna never let you go under the bar. Like, Charlie Wilson is probably the only person other than Dr. Dre that I hate working with, because I can't never get it right with them, because you can do better. I can't do better. This is all I have. No, you can do better. I quit.
Snoop, your daughter, beautiful, Corey, beautiful. And I know she's had some challenges, and so like to see like how beautiful she is and how she's pushed through that, like spiritually, like, you know, what kind of impact has that had on her?
Man, she's strong, man. Baby girl strong. She been like that since a baby, like a rider. Like, she's stronger than my boys. They weenies. She's strong. Like, dealing with lupus and all that stuff that she had to deal with, like taking her own medicine, and oh my God, I got a weak stomach. I can't take none of that. I never went to the doctor with her, never went to do none of that, because they know I can't take it. And she know. You understand? When it's time to take the medicine, get away from me. I don't want to see none of that mess. Get it together. But at the same time, I attribute a lot of that to her mother, because she's a smaller version of her mother. That's why I say her mother's a strong woman, and she takes on her genes. So being able to fight through it all, to have initiatives, and to want to do something to try to bring some awareness to lupus, and to try to show that, you know, you can beat it and you can live with it and you can, you know, still do things and make you happy. Like, that meant the world to me when she was able to do that, like to announce it. Like, because, you know, we embarrassed as parents when we find out that something is wrong with our kids. And it's like, that's one thing that we deal with a lot in the black community. Either if it's Down syndrome or whatever it is, we embarrassed about our kids when we shouldn't be. And my daughter was like, I want to let the world know. So I'm like, well, shit, she ain't embarrassed. What we embarrassed for? Like, that's why I raised you like that. You my daughter. You just don't give up. Okay, well, let's go then. And I think that helps her too, that she has me to be on her like a real man. Like, I don't talk to her like, oh, man, I talk to her like a real man. So she can understand the difference when she get in this real world between a boy and a man.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.